important to decide early on, and we've talked about these principles in the prior levels, is the pummel strike, and why do, with a fixed blade or an open folder, a pummel strike when you have the edge or the tip to strike with. And this is things that were taught to me by Captain Ben Mangles, a retired Rhodesian military and police person, been a veteran of much combat, and coincidentally, Kelly and I both had trained with him at different times. He left Africa, came to Dallas, Texas area, and set up shop, mostly as a photographer, and gave small classes and seminars and so forth. And now he's moved off, still doing his photography work. But nonetheless, he was instrumental for me to understand the military knife aspect of doing the pummel strike. Many times he would explain that a slash doesn't affect a person so quickly. Sometimes a stab doesn't too. This is a big knife, and you're going to get some result, but lesser knives and certainly folders. But as he would say, if you crack a guy in the face with the pummel, it is a stunning blow. In the same way as if the tip of the knife hits the face. Yes, it cuts. But as an impact weapon, the knife can be very devastating. And this is a guy who brought this home to me because years before, in my journey to understanding all this, the knife was just some sort of thing I was trying to dance with. And I'd just like to give him credit for the enlightenment of explaining to me that it's kind of like football with a knife. Devastating strikes and quick kills as opposed to a lot of flashy dance. And so that is why I now, as he did, emphasize the pummel strike. You've heard me say in earlier levels, if I have a guy bent over and I strike down with the forearm or the hammer here, and many of the knife folks ask me, well, Hawk, why not just cut the side of the neck? Well, as he explained, military gear or clothing oftentimes protects the side of the neck. The shirt collar will often protect the side of the neck, and you can't guarantee that. However, if you bang the back of the neck with that pummel, and if you're missing slightly a few inches, you have the bottom of your hand and this lead pipe, as the karate people call the forearm, you will make this person be affected far greater than a missed cut opportunity. Even if I were to cut them on the carotid, many times these people last 18, 20 seconds. They're still in the fight. They're still fighting you. They start feeling funny. And as we've said often, if someone gets a cut on the throat and they're bleeding back in this manner, they won't be as affected psychologically as if they were bleeding here, because then they have the mental shock that would come in and distracting from the fight. So a lot of variables involved with slashing and stabbing, but one thing for sure, if you get a good impact in the back of the neck or the face with this pummel strike, it's important. And of course, just thanks for a second, I'll need this space here. As you draw this fixed blade knife, as we talk about in level 1, sometimes you draw it to a reverse grip because that's the nature of the holster that you have and the sheath. And the first thing you'll get on the enemy is a pummel strike while he's charging in on you, up into the face or chin, wherever may work. So the pummel strike has an important part to play in knife fighting from a reality base. Let's talk about clothing for a second and the importance of the pummel strike. You could put a jacket like this, a typical common jacket like this, on a war post and hit it and discover that the knife, given the material that you're dealing with, has a propensity to slide and not give you the textbook imagined slice that you think you're going to get on everybody's arm. And so, you can hit and move and experiment with this on wood. And you will see when you take the jacket off, you didn't dent the wood. Sometimes it's the impact on the arm without a slice that can really cause the serious damage. I know some guys have put, meat on a stick and, cut through a flannel shirt or something. But 6-7 months out of the year in many places of the world, this is on, a sweatshirt is on under it. Layers of clothing protect you from the cold and protect you from the knife. And it's the same that's true with this collar right here. Boom. This may prevent you from having a serious slash, and so you're left with the pummel strike. We have talked about the flat of the blade in other levels, and I want you to remember too that is an impact unto itself also. So don't forget the blade can strike and be pretty devastating. But clothing has a definite effect on your knife fight, and that is why a pummel is also a pretty good option to get a lasting effect out of the person. Pummel strikes involve using a closed folder, the top or the bottom, or a fixed blade knife using the back of the knife. A lot of the pummel strike techniques were shown to me from Captain Ben Mangles from South Africa, who really made me a believer in the importance of an impact around the face, head, neck, whatever, as opposed to sometimes taking a slash. So you have in a saber grip the pummel strike with a fixed blade strikes in this manner, and if you're in a reverse grip, the pummel strike will strike in this manner. And we'll be doing these extensively in just a minute. Same thing when you have a decent sized folder in your hand. You will strike. I refer to them as saber or reverse grip positions because it helps you define which direction you're going in. You have the reverse grip strike that's this way, or the saber grip style that's this way. Anytime you put something in your hand to reinforce it, it strengthens the grip in your hand, and it is like brass knuckles. You just have to be careful of the fact that some knives are not conducive to you to punch with. This one happens to be, and this is one of the classic Applegate folders right here, one of my favorite fixed blade folding knives. And see the protrusion on one end and the protrusion on the other gives you this multi-purpose attack, and then you have this punch, which is what I want to talk about. This fits well in my hand. It doesn't bother me. However, I have other folding knives that do not fit well in your hand. This is a knife I carried when I was assisting the detail to protect former President Jimmy Carter. And it's a big knife, and I carried it in lieu of carrying a pistol, which would have caused a lot more security checks on their part. But do you see how this fits in my hand? The blade itself, which is dull on this side, inhibits me to take a proper tight grip. And also, I can only imagine striking someone with this edge, it's going to hurt your hand. So in the selection of your folding knife, you should worry about, here's just a common small one. You should worry about, is there a protrusion on either side that in a desperate fix you can use to strike with, and how well can you punch with this if you had to inside your hand? So it's not only just, oh, this looks cool, I love this name, this clip is okay. You also have to consider about the desperate moments when you're going to be unable to open this, and you're going to use it as a striking device. It's very much like a palm stick. Think of it as a palm stick, only it has more versatility. In level 5 of the Unarmed Combatives course, we have the punch counterpunch module. And we talked about using this as a brass knuckle in some way. Under the stress of that close quarter fight, we may not be able to get the knife out and access it. Problems we talk about in level 1 of the course. But just as a quick review, based upon the principles of the punch counterpunch module, the fist punches in a vertical position, a 45 position, a horizontal position, and an uppercut style position. The 4 basic punches. Those are all the bullets in your gun, and you should be free to punch in any one of those as needed. It's just that some systems will only make you punch a certain way, and I just don't think that your gun's fully loaded and to use all the opportunities that you can possibly have. So you have, in a brass knuckle situation, this reinforces the hand, is the vertical fist, the 45 degree, anatomically easy for people, it's how basically you walk, the horizontal fist, and an uppercut, a tight boxer's uppercut, or the extended, what I call Asian uppercut. And when you have this in your hand, it actually helps you from breaking your hand, gives you a lot of support and some heft, and also acts like a brass knuckle. saber pummel assault, the solo command and mastery. So important to get these basic motions down. We have the basic training version based on the 4 corners of the combat clock, and then the 10-angle saber pummel attack drill, advanced if you will. And it matches completely the saber stab drill that we learned in a prior level. On the basic training clock, we have the knife in our hand. Envision a saber attack coming out of the top. We have a 12 o'clock or high attack that comes in. And this could, as you know, that it may not be precisely a 12. We say 12 o'clock or anything from above. We have a 3 o'clock attack that is anything from the right side. A 6 o'clock attack, which is anything from below. And then we have a 9 o'clock attack, anything from the left side. Accentuating an imaginary edge out here and point so that we can define the use of the hammer fist on either side. We have 12, we have 3, we have 6, and we have 9 o'clock. Then we have to switch hands. We have 12, we have 3 o'clock, we have 6 o'clock, and we have a 9 o'clock style attack. Other hand, as we've previously learned, stays up in the window of combat, ready to take action. From a fixed blade position, the pummel strike would be a reverse grip. You have anything from the top, anything from the right, anything from below, and anything from the backhand or left side. We'll switch hands. We have a high pummel, a right side pummel, a 6 o'clock or bottom side pummel, and a 9 o'clock or a left. We flip it over to the other side of the hammer fist, which is going to be a reverse grip idea, that the blade is sticking out on this side, but we've pulled out our knife, we don't have time to open it up, the enemy is upon us, and we use this as a striking weapon. It's also a less than lethal tactic, and just something that's good to reinforce the hand with. Here we have the classic 12 o'clock downward pummel strike. We have the 3 o'clock close folder strike. We have the 6 o'clock, which makes you do that classic back fist position that you may find yourself in. And we have the 9 o'clock style. We have a 12 and a 3 and a 6 o'clock and a 9 o'clock. And we switch 12 and 3 and 6 o'clock and any 9 o'clock strike. With a fixed blade. 12 o'clock pummel strike, 3 o'clock pummel strike, 6 o'clock pummel strike, 9 o'clock pummel strike. And we switch. We have a 12, there's a 3, there's a 6 o'clock, and then a 9 o'clock with a fixed blade. Here is the 10 angle or advanced drill that has a lot more motion, and it's good to also practice too. I'm going to take a look at the saber style approach if I'm thinking about hammering with the top of a knife, a close folder. Here's 1 and 2, high, high, medium, medium, and low, and then low. Unlucky 7 is that power shot to the groin, or if someone's bent over, you're hitting him in the face. The targets are not what we're trying to hit here. We're trying to develop the body motions. We have number 7. 8 comes down, and then a 9 thrust, and then a 10 thrust. Look at that again slightly from the side. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10. With a fixed blade knife, high strike, high hooking strike, medium and medium height, low and low. Unlucky 7. A strike from above for 8, and being ever so careful about having that tip faced back at you. So I don't generally like to put this in my center line, but you have a strike high and then a strike low. We'll switch sides. High, high, medium, medium, low, and low. Unlucky 7 strike. We're coming down, careful of the tip, we strike high, and we strike low. These motions are very, very military, have been around for a century or two. Now we'll identify the bottom side or reverse grip strike through the 10. We have a high and a high, and a medium, and a medium, and a low, and a low. We have that back fist that comes up. We have the shot that comes down, and a straight in, and a straight in. We'll switch. We have high, high, medium, medium, and a real low, and a low. The back fist that comes up, the downward strike, and a hit, and then a hit. We'll take a look at the 10. This time from, I would be in a saber grip, but I'm striking out at the bottom. We have a high hook and a high hook. A medium and a medium, and a low and a low. The back fist, back hammer that comes up, the common attack that comes down, and we're worried about that edge being pointed at you again. We strike, and then we strike. We switch hands. We have the high and the high, and the medium and the medium, and the low and the low. Up, down, straight in, and then straight in again. In level 1 of the course, we talked about stress combat quick draws. So we can't review all that now. But this is a great advanced look, although I'll say, there is no such thing as an advanced knife fight. But it's an advanced step from the basic quick draw series from level 1. Whereas we are going to now pull this knife, strike, and then cause an impact or injury to the person that diminishes him, and then open the knife, and then any follow-up attack. So our knife is in our pocket. We have someone that's attacking us. We may grab them, push them off. I strike in any of the manners that we just did. I open up the knife, and then I slash or attack in a combination pattern. The knife goes back. I grab or push the opponent. I strike low from the 6 o'clock position. I open up the knife and I slash or stab. And then we're back again. I'll grab him, strike him, or whatever. I take out the knife. He's too close for me to open, so I strike with the knife, open it up, and then slash, stab, or attack. Good combination drill to do both right and left-handed. Another combination, as you recall in our other modules, is going to be using the knife and kicking, or kicking and using the knife in any sort of manner. But if I take out this knife and I strike with it from 12 o'clock, there's any combat kick. I take out the knife, I strike from 3 o'clock, there's any combat kick. I take out the knife and I strike from low or 6 o'clock, and there's any kick that you want. I take out the knife and I open it, I get a chance to strike, I see what kick is needed, and I take that low combat kick. So the combination is pummel strike and kick, and then obviously kick and pummel strike in that order also. In every one of our modules, like this one, we will be doing the statute drill. This is now level 7 of the course. I don't think we have to go through the basics of why we do it and what it's like. But we're going to have the classic one we've done from the beginning. Same side makes contact, same side strikes in any way. So the knife hand makes contact, knife hand side strikes. I'm on the inside, knife contact, knife strike, double contact, knife strike. Knife makes contact, top or bottom here, and strike. Knife makes contact, and knife strikes. We'll turn this way here. Knife and fist or knife, but it's this same arm. Devastating shot, top or bottom of the knife, devastating. Right here. And then the other major one that gets the comprehensive doctrine out is the other hand or forearm makes contact and knife strikes. Contact, other hand strikes, double is the same, strike. Other hand makes contact and strike. Other hand makes contact and knife strike. Many times you add on the double contact and knife strike. It's not a requirement in our system, but nonetheless in your classes, you could do that because you're going to make contact. Here's a reference point. You're going to make contact. Here's a reference point. You're going to double up and make contact. So foundationally speaking, it's good to do. Double contact, any knife strike. Double contact, strike. Double contact, strike. Simultaneous double contact and strike. Simultaneous double contact and any strike. And that's a good way to look at the statue drill. When you're doing these drills, this is a real knife, but you can do the same thing with the fixed blade, just use a training knife. Because the lessons learned with a dull edge will be important. You will whack your hand in these maneuverings sometimes, and just be careful to always use a training one when you're doing the fixed blade version. Let's take a look at what we do at every module, and that is the basic counters to common blocks. What I like to refer to as just the running tires in a football practice. This is that. And our training partner is the human Wing Chun dummy that helps us out, And he will just respond at a 12 o'clock position, at a 3 o'clock position, at a 6 o'clock position, at a 9 o'clock position. As we get to practice, we have developed a familiarity with the top and the bottom side pummel strike. And so here's a 12 o'clock. The first one we always do is hit the block. Just because we need to practice it, we need to be aware of it. Now, in this situation, you could hit here. That's true. If your knife folded is significant enough, you could rake down and hurt it. Remember, cutting the block or hitting the block is not a winning move. It's just an aggressive mindset that diminishes the fighter. So you've taken a shot and you've hit here. 12 o'clock, he blocks, and I hit it. 3 o'clock, he blocks, and this particular version here has some pain and a good rakeability on it. 6 o'clock, I strike, I've taken the top of that and just kind of banged him, or perhaps if it's there long enough you can hit it. 9 o'clock, and I hit. Let's do that from this angle, right about here. 12 and hit. I have a real knife, so I'm not going to hit rawhide that hard on this here. But if I had a rubber one, we could show you that it could be pretty painful. And that is just simply hit the block. In other systems, we'll call it stab or slash the block in other modules. Now we have the redirect on another line. He blocks, and I redirect my attack on another line. He blocks, and I redirect. He blocks, and I redirect. He blocks, and I redirect. We're learning the solo commanded mastery, familiarization, savvy of moving this around. Remember, we always have redirect on another line. Redirect on another line. Redirect on another line, and redirect on another line is always your other hand. Starts to look like the punch counter punch module. Starts to look like our strike counter strike module, which is invading or trapping hands. So that would be level 2 of the counters to common blocks. And 3 is using the hand invading, pinning, passing, pulling, or pushing the opponent's limb. We strike, I come out and hit him. Strike on this side, clear, strike. I strike on this side, I clear and strike. I strike on this side, I clear it out, pin, pass, pull, or push, and then I strike. In your classes, you can later on turn into combat scenarios. This is just getting you used to using this. Notice sometimes I use the top or saber version, and sometimes I use the bottom or the reverse grip version to make the strike. Striking the head. This is a devastating blow to the head. When you have a hard object in your hand and you crack into the face or the carotid, pretty devastating. As good as any of the old palm stick movements in any system that you might come across that teaches them. So here we have, very important again to review, possibly for the first time in the knife course, but we've done it in the PAC course, it's been in the stick course and also the unarmed combatives course, and that is the outside invasion drill. And we won't belabor the point because it's been shown in our system so many times, but this is a perfect time to discuss it. Here we have our outside reference point. You know, remember the science of the reference points. He throws a punch at me and I block. High reference point. I throw a punch at him, he blocks. Reference point. Same thing down here, low counts too. High and low. So it doesn't matter if I've initiated this or if he's initiated this. The first one gets through. Bang, into the carotid. The second one gets blocked halfway. I use this elbow to drive into his body like a football player, try to clear that out of the way, and then I get the strike in. The next one gets grabbed. I have that joint lock elbow release, simulating almost that I'm trying to strike him in the head with the elbow, but I can't reach that far. But I torque him around. He's almost letting go there, because that's the awkward S or V or center lock position, whatever your system calls it. And then I elbow strike down, clear, and then hit. And then the last one, he overblocks, we pass and strike. This is these steps are fundamental in so many systems, close quarter combatives. Now we're just using the knife closed folder to demonstrate them. The first finish in any scenario like that you want. As with all our training modules, we take a look at the block, pass, and pin drill. Remember, it's not about memorizing the pattern. It's about having savvy on the inserts inside the motions. And this is, again, running tires in football. It is all this is, but it gets you to a higher level. I block, pass, pin. He blocks, passes, pins. There's beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, 4, 5, and 6. This is level 7 of the course. You know how to do this. You know why we do this all the time. And so now we have the beat 1 strike. Just for some target acquisition training, I'm banging the lower arm. Here's beat 1. On 1.5, I hit the lower arm. On beat 1.5, I hit the upper arm. And on beat 1.5, I'll hit the carotid or the throat. So you have three potential targets just to get good. That's all the purpose is, you know. I don't believe in the adage, the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid. I want you to have tattooed on your forehead instead, push the envelope. That doesn't mean that a beginner has to act like a college PhD. We just expect the beginner to incrementally get better and grow in life too, not just in fighting, but just push your personal envelope. Just a little bit every day, all the time. And then someday you'll be able to do this kind of stuff. And if you look at it from this perspective, it's achievable, and it's not some kind of, you're not doing spinning jump kicks in the air. We're not talking about that. Now, I want you to push your skill level onward, because if you're afraid of heights and you're climbing a ladder, and if you're on I can only go as far as the 4th step. Well, if you go to the 6th step of the ladder, the 4th one becomes nothing. And that's what I mean. Just progress in that way. And so here we have a drill that is a foundation for you to push the envelope. Get faster, get smarter, get more coordinated. Get all these different skills that we have. Here's the lower arm, the upper arm, the neck. And that's just on the beat 1 side. We'll turn this way here. Here is 1, 2. On 2.5, this hand stays up and I crack here. 1, 2. I'm going to hit the upper arm. The hand gets out of the way. I crack there. 1, 2. I can slide up and tap out of the way using some of the push, pull, and pin series to strike here. Then we have 1, 2, 3. Easy there. 1, 2, 3. As someone did for me years ago, you've seen me do it before. Strike. See, that funny noise will make you remember that forever. And we hit here. And then we have 1, 2, 3, easy shot to the throat. Then in classes or whatever, you can begin to do any other follow-ups of scenarios that you want. But that's a quick look at using the block, pass, and pin drill. And each time I'm striking with anything that is available, the top or the bottom side. Seen that before? That we've been using the pummel strike in combat scenarios that we've taught throughout the system, and we'll see more in the upcoming version. So use any one of those old combat scenarios and you'll be okay. Remember the less than lethal approach. If I can stab him this way, or I can turn my knife around and do that reinforced punch in a less than lethal manner. Cup and then strike here as opposed to cutting here. Learn all aspects of the knife, and the pummel strike or the closed folder one is vital that you get familiarized with. Studies and observations in passing. We say throughout our Congress courses there are two types of strikes delivered two different ways. Let's just take a look at a punch. Some punches come in straight or they come in hook. Some kicks come in straight or they come in at a hooking angle. Those are the two ways that you'll get attacked. And then the method is that some strikes come in, stay, plant, penetrate, push, 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 and some strikes hit and retract. That's the way it is. Some knives come in powerfully, powerfully, and some pluck, stab. And you'll never know what your attacker is going to be able to do, but you can really safely say from a criminal military perspective, emotion and anger will dictate. A lot of people will strike as viciously and as hard as they can, and it'll just stick and push and push and push. Same thing with a stab. And that is your more typical human type of attack. And this gives you a chance to do more. And I just want to tell you quickly of a case I worked years ago where the man was attacked in a kitchen, which is such a typical knife attack site. And of course the weapon was a kitchen knife that the attacker, his friend or acquaintance, had acquired, chasing him across the kitchen with this knife. They got up against the side of the cabinets, and the victim told me that the attacker was vicious. His face was insane, and he was just knocking things everywhere. The knife hit a refrigerator, and it stuck there. And in this omnipotent, adrenalized state, the attacker, it seemed, thought that he could cut through the refrigerator or move it. And it just kind of stayed there and pushed and pushed and pushed. Well, at this moment, our victim saw that and grabbed the weapon-bearing limb. Hung on the arm until other people came and broke up the fight. This is typical. Now, if he were one of these uncommitted slash or stab guys, if he got hit by the refrigerator, he would take it back. As you learn in the clutches of that we're going to do in the next level, the plucking stab is the hardest guy to deal with. Folks, there's nothing to pass in this. There's something to pass in the angry, solid motion, isn't there? Pass down. But when you've got an attacker who attacks this way, there's nothing to pass. So that tells you that scientifically, 50% of all attacks may not be passable. You can't go into it thinking that you can. It's the same thing with a punch. A guy who punches like this or punches like that. This one is passable. That ain't. And that's the harsh reality in the science of passing. A subject that we cover in Level 7 is the science and some of the concepts in passing an attack. In this case, of course, with a knife. And my feeling is that the only time you pass a weapon is when you fail to catch it. And then you have passing skill to get rid of it. And then as quickly as possible, you must try to catch it. And so that is the philosophy that's lost in a lot of systems when you overdo drills. You become these passy, tappy experts. And at some point, the knife attack has got to end. And how do you end it? You usually grab the weapon-bearing limb or do something else. So you pass when you fail to catch. And there you have that. Now, there's two basic versions of the concept of passing. One of them is force to force, then surrender to the force, and you pass. Or there is blending. And those are the two fundamental ways that you pass any kind of an attack, hand or with a weapon in it. And we have to understand that you pass with one hand, you pass with two hands. You know, you pass with a weapon. If you have the weapon in your hand, it would be a saber or reverse grip. And then you pass from the left to the right or the right to the left. You pass from above to below or below up, you know. And these are just the fundamental motions of passing based on those two scientific principles. Now we're going to engage in a series of drills that will develop what we're trying to bring out in learning how to pass. Remember that unarmed passing is in level 9 of the knife course, whereas unarmed versus the knife. But we have to learn passing in knife combat because this hand will sometimes pass. The weak side or the open free hand will often pass. So in a knife versus knife battle, it's important that the person has some passing skill. In this skill set of passing, we're just going to turn on the legs of our training partner, throw the switches on, and give them the foundation of movement that will help pass. Obviously, passing is not just an arm thing, it's a body thing. And if it's a body thing, it's a leg thing too. And so in our combat clock situation, I stand here, I'm training him, I will strike out at 12 o'clock, and he just gets out of the way. And then I will strike out at 3 o'clock, he gets out of the way, move around a bit, I strike out, stab or slash at 6 o'clock, and then cut across here. Just as a drill to get him started so that he can begin the foundation for the movement. In your training classes, you have a slash, a slash, a slash, or a slash, or a 12 o'clock stab, a 3 o'clock stab, a 6 o'clock stab, or a 9 o'clock stab. This way your partner gets to see everything that's going to be attacking him, and it won't be such a shock. So now we have this going on. The next thing we may do is try to have an arm pass. Could be the knife arm, could be the empty hand arm. So here's the time. We're going to shortly summarize everything we've learned in other levels. Remember the different stances: knife forward, knife neutral, knife back. But you're in motion, so you're moving around. You have a knife block with your empty hand that's this way, 12 o'clock-ish. You have the knife block that's this way. Remember, keeping everything soft and cuttable as much as possible inside. You've got a knife block that goes down. You've got a knife block that goes this way. And these will pass and or deflect, we hope, some attacks. In level 8, we'll talk about grabs in the clutches of. So you have the knife hand doing some motion. You have a pass to the right, a pass to the left, higher, low, higher, low. Then you have the knife side. The knife blocks at 12. The knife blocks at 3. The knife blocks at 6. The knife blocks at 9 o'clock. It passes right to left. It passes high to low or low to high. So the knife is doing some motion too. And then, of course, you have both. These may work in conjunction with each other in that scientific list that you've just read on the screen. Rarely, if ever, do people get into the specifics of passing as we're trying to cover here. But if, in fact, we have this 12 o'clock slash that's coming down. Now, remember I said if he's smart and retracts, I have nothing to pass. We have the, force against force, surrender the force, and that's a passing method. But just for fundamental motion, you'll see a lot of action coming up about passing. But as this is slowly coming down, just kind of leave it right about there. My hand is coming over, and I'm just passing it. My forearm may rake him, but I'm getting out of the way, and then the pinning and the attacking. Now, let me show you something that you may try to aspire to as you push your own envelope. As this comes down, many times people will try to pass this way. Perfectly sound. No matter what happens, he can always retract and try to cut your blocking limb. That's why we do counters to common blocks. It's not a death shot, but nonetheless, you must be prepared for that fact. And in your advanced classes, counter each one of these passes by a knife retraction or the skills that we talk about in counters to common blocks. But you see the hand is coming this way, it's coming this way, and then I'm taking advantage of that pass. On the 3 o'clock, here I am. Look I might be this way, I might be this way. I'm telling you, when you cut loose and do this full speed, you'll probably do it more like this. This is a trained skill that you're going to have to acquire. It's just something, I'm hollowing myself out a little bit. I'm trying to pass it. Woo! Look at that right there for a potential grab. Passing is when grabbing missed. 6 o'clock that slashes up. My hand comes up in some manner that you will develop that helps pass the knife. 9 o'clock. Look at that's a perfect time, very anatomically easy for someone to be blood vessel in, soft muscle in, and pass over. So these are specifics. As he gives me the 12, the knife blade makes that contact, and I use it. Look at how my grip changes, the wandering thumb that I feel is such an important principle in knife fighting. How I've gone from this position to that almost classic military position, thumb on the side, to I'm working it like a tennis racket or any tool in sports you would use, wandering the knife around as needed. In a reverse grip, in this one, he could be a saber or reverse. I'm catching, hooking and catching and pulling down for the classic one we learned in level 3 of the course. So these are just some fundamental arm movements. When you cut loose and start doing these fast, you're probably just going to do the best you can. But when you push the envelope, you'll be more concerned about the position of this arm. And these are just some fundamental ways to pass. The first mechanical solo commanded mastery drill. He is in a saber grip. He slashes down at me, and my hand, forearm up to the tips of my fingers gets this out. I pass it out of the way, and then I can try to attack. That's it. Would be a 12 o'clock version. Whether or not you get all the previous steps in, maybe we don't need to move this much. Maybe I'm just right here. Maybe I can't get an eye attack. So if my hand is in version, this would come in. I'd pass it over, and eye attack that way, perhaps. It's going to be different every time. Just load yourself up with the tools, the footwork, the eye attack, the passing skills. Now we have a 3 o'clock slash. I get to get it out of the way, and then I'm immediately coming into a quick stab to the throat. 6 o'clock, it's coming up. I pass it out of the way, and I stab in. 9 o'clock, I'm passing it out of the way. I got lucky, and then I'm coming right into the throat, taking out the plumbing, and then you can do the combat scenarios later. Now let me pass with the knife. At 12 o'clock, I pass with the knife and I attack. I pass with this knife and I attack. I pass with this knife and I attack. I pass with the knife and I attack. Reverse grip. Let's do this real slow. Pass, attack. Pass, attack. Pass, attack. Pass, and I attack. have to do it. Passing with your hand, passing in a reverse grip, passing in a saber grip. Learn the mechanics of that, and that's the foundation for everything that we're trying to accomplish here.